Hey, what's up? My name is Fear Dragon, and I am joined here with the one and only PengWin StarCraft, Gwen Stefani StarCraft.
Forgot my name for a sec there.
No, Gwen Stefani StarCraft. What's up, dude?
Not too much. How are you, dude?
Not too bad. We just finished Dreamhack Austin. Neeb took victory. Spoiler alert. I think I'm supposed to say spoiler alert before the spoiler. Yeah, well.
Kills Dumbledore.
With a leaf blower?
Huh?
With a leaf blower?
No, it's a lawnmower, actually.
Cool. So Psystorm had a pretty sick performance this event.
It was pretty decent.
Yeah. Is Jon Snow making a round of 16 finish? You had True with the round of 4 finish. Like, really, really good results. As the, I guess, like, the player manager for Psystorm, any thoughts on that? Like, what is going so well for Psystorm that's, like, letting the players do this?
I mean, I think it's also just like a lot of it is also just sort of stability for the players. It's always very nice for the players to just be part of an organization that's just stable, and it's something that I heard from a couple of the guys who are on like lesser known teams this weekend, where it's like they're treated well, but like it's very stressful. Like some of the organizations, just like things are done really last minute, and they don't really like. It's very stressful, and it's very nice for players to be on a more chilled organization where things are sorted out in advance, and obviously a lot of that goes to the credit of KJ and Damon, who just run everything really, really smoothly. And Archnog is also now an owner, so shout-outs to him as well. But, they're also just playing really, really well. And Jon Snow's always been this guy that just, like, shows up on LAN. And I have to say, like, we weren't expecting Jon Snow to make it out of his group because he had the absolute group of death in the round of 32 where he had to play he didn't actually play Serral, but the group was Serral, Optimus, and Hearthstone. And really good performance by him there. And, I mean, losing to Nurchio is not at all embarrassing or anything. Nurchio is obviously a god, and Jon Snow with a really sick performance. I think Pili definitely very upset with his performance. He had a very doable group in the round of 32 and just didn't go his way, so really upsetting for him because he was doing very well in the WCS standings, but round of 32 doesn't actually get you any points at all, so he drops down to 17th, so a little disappointing for him, but Pili of course is just one of the absolute best in the NA scene, so he'll bounce back stronger in the next event.
Yeah, and I know you also competed in Dreamhack. Oh, man, I'm sorry, dude. Do you want to talk about it or no?
Not really.
Okay, that's absolutely fair. Let's talk a bit about the Psystorm Gaming House, because you guys have had that. You have, like, a bunch of actually really awesome players, including True that everyone knows, but you also have a few other players that I think don't get talked about as much in the Psystorm Gaming House. Like, who's over there?
Me and True.
Wait, is Warren not there?
He went for like a week.
Oh, okay. I think I saw that and I was like, oh, I guess Warren's at the Psystorm Gaming House. Like, cool, that's awesome. But yeah, so like I guess like what goes into like deciding who you're gonna pick up? Because I know that you've had like a little bit of a mix in terms of like the types of players that you pick up. You have like a lot of the North American talent, but then like you have like True, you have like Gumiho. It's like kind of like slightly different types of pickups. So like what kind of goes into that thought process of when you're looking for new pickups?
My MO in picking up players has always sort of been players who have a lot of potential to do well, and players who are not necessarily like the super all-stars at the time. And a lot of that is also sort of budget management. Like when you pick up someone like Dark or Innovation, like the demands for their contract are going to be insane. But whereas when you pick up someone like Gumiho, it's a lot cheaper for the organization. He's easily able to do as well if he's on form. So it's a really, really good signing as far as that goes. When it comes to NA players, a lot of it is also potential. Obviously, a lot of our guys are not the guys who have been sort of mainstays for years and years and years. I mean, Jon Snow, Pili. These guys, like, they've been around for a while, but they're still relatively up-and-comers, especially with their performance that they're having this year. And Gumiho as well, like, obviously he's been around for eons at this point. But, again, like, he's not always on form, and that's just the way, like, he hasn't always been on form. HOTS was a little bit hard for him at the end. So I always like to sort of go for players that I think have potential to do very, very well, given the right circumstances and the right environment. And it worked pretty well at MYI, and it's working pretty well here. So I think it's a pretty decent sort of game plan.
Yeah, and I know that there was like some teasing of a potential new player pickup. I think it's not entirely confirmed, but like KJ was making some tweets about like, oh man, you know, Damon really wanted to pick up MC at one point. It was like, who would be another good Protoss pickup? And everyone was kind of starting to speculate like, Psystorm about to pick up a Protoss player. Can you say anything about that?
Nothing's confirmed, no comment. Like, it's very possible that nothing happens.
Okay, fair enough. That's fair. One last question before we kind of move on to shoutouts, because I know everyone's trying to go get dinner and all that stuff. And of course, everyone's looking forward to that Twitch after party. But I want to ask, like, you are a like highly competitive player, you're able to beat some really, really good players. How do you feel like that really helps out a lot in being like a player manager? Because I think that's something that like not every team has. And I even like think back to like Jon Snow versus Optimus, where he was doing like the railgun build, which I think you did the railgun build a little bit at just like once or twice at Storm Gaming land.
Yeah, I actually taught him that build an hour before the match. Like, I mean, like, I'm not going to say that I tell all the players all the strategies that they're supposed to do or whatever, but I think it is very important to have a player manager that's a high level. And one of the reasons that I compete is just sort of motivate me to practice to stay at a high level, because like I do a bit of everything, and like whether I'm casting, whether I'm managing, whether I'm coaching, whether I'm streaming, like everything is like made a lot easier by just being a high level player. So obviously I'm not like top level player, but it's important for me to maintain a decent play level. And I'm glad that I'm able to do that. And yeah, I mean, even like players who are not even on my team will ask me to coach them sometimes. Like I coached Drogo at BlizzCon, and he managed to beat Snoot. So I think I'm like relatively good at that. Like, and a lot of it's not just like telling people what to do as well. It's just like sometimes giving an outside perspective helps. Like whether or not what I'm saying is like what they decide to go for, it still helps to have another sort of viewpoint to give you something to think about. And that's something that helps as well. And like I always try to be very active with going up and talking to my players if they're losing or if they're winning and seeming a little bit stressed, like a little bit nervous. So I think that it definitely helps a lot.
Yeah, even just like knowing the feeling of like, oh man, you're losing. Like there's like something you can relate to with versus someone who's just like on the outside. You can kind of pretend or like talk like you know what it feels like, but you don't necessarily always know.
Right, and it's also just like, people who are not Grandmaster can offer insight into tactics and stuff, but like some players have a very hard time taking that seriously. So like Stardust would get like the MII CEO would like complain about like things that Stardust are doing. Like Stardust would just never be able to take him seriously because he plays only with a mouse and he's Platinum League. So like, I mean, a lot of the time what he said was not wrong. Like,
that's impressive, by the way. Like only Platinum League with only mouse.
Yeah, like I think he even hit Diamond once. Like, not bad at all. But yeah, I mean, like it just sort of lends credence to the things you're saying as well. Like KJ will oftentimes come to the same conclusions that I will, but as like since he's a Masters 2, Masters 3 player, it's like True specifically like has a hard time taking him seriously. Whereas like if it comes from me, that tends to be like
more credence kind of.
Like it lends more credence to any sort of advice that's being given.
Cool. All right. Well, with that being said, let's move on to shout-outs and everything. Do you have any I assume you, as like one of the kind of forefront people for Storm Gaming, have some shout-outs to do. You'll actually know the sponsors off the top of your head and everything, unlike some of the other players I've done interviews with. But on top of that, I want one interesting fact about yourself that nobody else knows, or like 95% of people don't know.
All right, that's pretty easy, actually. Let's start with the shout-outs. First of all, big shout-out to Archnog, who was a couple of days ago, maybe a week ago now, was made one of the owners of Storm Gaming. He's now a shareholder, so now we have Damon and KJ and Archnog. So that's really, really cool to have him on board. He's always been a sort of ever-present at our events and supporting the team, so it's really cool to finally have him on board as well. Shout-out to ADV Moto and PowerStorm Tech, our two sponsors. And shout out, of course, to the team, like Storm Gaming. These new hoodies are so sick.
Ooh, I actually haven't seen this one too much. I haven't seen that close. Oh, that feels.
Yeah,
nice.
they're like really thin. So even though we're in Austin, it's like really nice to just be able to wear them around. And these are actually really sick hoodies. Yeah, and shout out to Ravi. Aww.
You know, I always got your back, even when I don't want to.
Yep, it's very, very true. And yeah, so trying to think if I missed any shout outs. People can follow me on Twitter at PSI PengWin and follow me on Twitch at Penguin_SC. And a little known fact is that I cannot hear from this year. Did you?
Oh yeah, I did know that one. I did learn that.
Me in person will know that because they'll try to whisper something in that ear and I'll be like, I can't hear you.
Yeah.
and then they'll whisper louder. I'm like, I still can't hear you. Please.
That's what my favorite thing about you is that you won't say like I can't hear you in that ear or anything. You will force someone. You will make it as awkward as possible.
Yeah, no, it's fucking great. Like it's so fun to do that. Just mini trolling.
You just do that. You do those mini trolls like all the time on anything, just like random things.
You know it. Yeah. Even in my play style.
Yeah, actually, that's very true. All right. Well, this has been PengWin, and thank you very much, dude. Pleasure to have you, and pleasure to see you. But see you guys next time.